We obviously did previously have the Dublin Agreement, which did allow us to return several hundred people a year to EU member states, and presumably a lot of that was to France. Can you tell us how many asylum seekers or how many people arriving have been returned to any EU country in the course of the last year, or since January?
Well, returns related to small boat arrivals. The answer to that is 294 overall.
294 in the last this year.
The answer in this year is 5.
Right. So in 2021, at a time when the number of people arriving has gone up, you've just been able to return 5 people. In the previous years, you've been had several hundred people as part of a safe returns agreement. And have those 5 gone back to EU countries or to other countries?
European countries. So the answer to that is European countries.
Okay. Do you have any agreement in place with the EU for those return agreements, for those returns?
There is not a returns agreement with the European Union in place at the moment, as I was just explaining to
the number
Mr.
of
Holloway.
So the returns, since we lost the Dublin Agreement, the returns have got substantially worse then?
So I think it's fair to say that the Dublin arrangement was not a panacea.
Indeed,
and
but it was returning several hundreds of people, and now it's just 5.
Again, you will appreciate that there have been some difficulties around securing returns, not least as a consequence of COVID. That is an important context that I think
your predecessor told us this time last year that return agreements were our #1 priority. It's strongly in the French national interest to agree such returns interest. That gives me significant cause for optimism. It would not be very difficult to improve on Dublin. Once we're outside of it, we'll be free to negotiate our own bilateral agreements, which I hope will be a significant improvement on Dublin. Instead, the opposite has happened. Is that correct?
The ambition remains to secure successful returns arrangements with our European friends and neighbours, and potentially with the European Union. But this also doesn't just relate to the EU. This also relates to source countries.
In terms of the countries that people have travelled from crossing the Channel, which is the subject of this inquiry, they are all EU countries, correct?
I don't think you can necessarily separate those two things. I, of course, am very clear that people should seek asylum in the first safe country that they reach. That is the sensible thing to do. That is the safest thing to do. And
Indeed.
What people should not be doing is putting their lives in the hands of evil criminal gangs and trying to get to the United Kingdom via small boat.